I wanted to name him Ptolemy, actually, after the, African philosopher. But they were like, no, that's real. You got to come up with with a name that isn't out there. And I was like, okay, we'll just shorten it to Tola. And I think it actually fits him really well.
The first question I want to ask you is what excited you most about the premise of Fast and Purple Worm Kill Kill when you signed on?
I am down for anything D&D. Honestly, I love D&D. I was introduced to it like later in life. I didn't grow up playing it when I was a kid. And, my friends over at Critical Role, Matt Mercer and Liam O'Brien, literally talked to me like before and after and during voiceover sessions years ago, just about playing with my kids. So I played with my kids and, just to, have kind of family bonding time. And then they asked me to play with them. And it is so freeing and just such an amazing creative outlet, for me that I just fell in love with it. So if you say D&D and you're halfway there to getting me to do it, and then it was like, you know what? I should have come drunk. Here's the thing that they said, you know what? You don't have to worry about preparing too much. Just come, have a good time. But I think that they should have told me to prepare even less. They should have told me to come inebriated or high. I think it would have only added to the festivities because the show, I don't even remember what happened. In the moment, I don't remember what happened anyway. But the amount of foolishness that can happen in a show where everybody dies is just like awesome. So, they pretty much had me in at the jump.
You've played in front of a live audience before because you played at one of the Critical Role live shows. What was it like?
Oh, yeah.
Audience that had actual input on the game with this?
It's funny. I didn't even think of it that way because I feel like in a way the DM is the audience always. And so somebody is always, watching who has input. You know what I mean? They're the DM is the one who's usually like taking the grenade and going, and throwing it and seeing what happens to the, with the players when they play. So this was just an added layer of that, but it didn't feel, so foreign. It felt like, if you're sitting around the table, you should be participating. I think that's the thing about D&D, and having a live audience, is always fun because just the fact that they're there creates, an atmosphere, when you're recording, like actual play, and you're doing it remotely, you kind of forget that anybody's watching, but when there's an actual audience there, that's the fun thing is that you can feel that energy.
And then can you talk to me a little bit about working with the Beatles and Grimm's guys on this show?
They love D&D so much. They love the game itself, and it's just about how much fun you can have with it, and for me, it's like, every time I start to play, you sit down and you think that you're just going to have, a normal good time for some reason. I feel like I'm sitting down and, we're playing a game and I'm sort of excited. But once you start actually getting into the game, it's like that moment of, Willy Wonka where he opens the doors. It's like, okay, here, we're at the factory again. Yeah, it's a factory. It's a chocolate factory, blah, blah, blah. And then the doors open and you're like, no, it's not. It's fucking unimaginably beautiful. Every time you sit down, your imagination just starts to come alive and it becomes unimaginably beautiful. And those guys love that aspect of the D&D experience. And it's like, and we're just exploring another, amazing room in the Wonka factory, and with Beetle and Grimm, the D&D adventures and channel and everything, they put in the right amount of what do you say, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? The bells and whistles. What do you mean? The God, it's like right on the tip of my tongue. It's something simple, but they put a little money into into these shows, but it's just the right amount to give you to help you enhance the flavor. They're not like trying to overtake it. They're not trying to put CGI
Yeah.
monsters in the background to make it come alive for you. They understand that the thing that makes this great is that storytellers are telling the story, and we all can see it in our mind. If you love D&D, you love the fact that it all comes alive in your head, and it's like they give you just enough. Damn it, I don't know what the word is. I'm going to call you back. I'm going to text you. I'm going to be like, this is what the word that I was thinking of. Something value, production value,
Okay.
production value. They give you just enough production value to put a little season on top, to put a little sprinkle on top, but not to overtake what D&D is, which is all about the imagination. Is all about that you and I are looking at each other, and there's nothing between us. It's all happening in our heads, but we all see it, and thrive on that. And of course, it's like, Matt Lillard is just, his energy is crazy. He is just so, he's that absolutely, he's tall and lanky, but the molecules are just bouncing all inside. He's like this vessel where it's just bouncing back and forth all over the place. And you can't help but be like, oh my God, I got to get my energy. I got to go with this guy wherever he's going.
And one of my favorite dynamics at the table was you and Gabe and how you would play off of each other. Can you talk about this table in particular a little bit? Because you guys had such a quick, silly dynamic that came together almost instantly.
Yes. Gabe's my boy, man. He had me tripping. I do remember that. I do remember Gabe from across the table. It was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
We were either very off or right there together. I met Gabe I met everybody a few minutes before. We're like, hey, how you doing? We put on microphones and we jumped in. I think Gabe and I knew had a couple of people in common that we knew. But I hadn't really known anybody, anybody before that. I think I barely talked to Justice at all before he walked in and started reading, and I was like, okay, here we go. This is my DM, nice to meet you. Here we go. And so I just think it was cool that everybody was just down to clown, just ready to play. And I guess that's why it popped off so easily. Honestly, I mean, Gabe feels like a cousin. But Gabe feels like just short of family. Like we come from, about the same. Yeah, we didn't grow up in the same area, but man, it feels like this. It feels like we got family in common. There was something like there was a shared experience growing up. Gabe and I were like vibing from the get go, and so yeah, so much so Gabe had these cool like harem-y pants on, and I was like, where did you get those pants? I immediately went and bought his pants. That's how like on the same level Gabe and I are, I'm walking around here feeling, looking like Aladdin. Very easy breezy. I haven't had them on for a month or so because it got cold, but once it starts to warm back up, I'm putting my Gabe pants back on.
Lillard popped in to play a portal that wanted gossip to let you through, and you guys were not great at giving him gossip.
Oh my God, I was so bad at it. You know what? Oh man, I remember this part, and it really pissed me off because I had actually been forced to watch the Kardashians, and so they're like sad, boring like version of gossip like between their family. Like, I'm so mad at her right now, that kind of thing. That I was literally like the whole time. This is what I remember from this show. The whole time me driving home was being like, why didn't I cut one of their heads off? I could have cut a Kardashian's head off. And I was so angry with myself. I was like, I had been lulled into this boring version of what gossip is by that show. And I was like, I could have cut their heads off, off with all their heads. This is what could have happened. I literally, you can tell, I'm still upset about it. That I was not broadcast cutting Chloe's. Chloe's. I kind of empathize with Chloe a little bit. Which is the one? Courtney. Courtney. She's a beautiful woman, man. She needs to get an appendage cut off of her. She's crazy. She's the worst. And so I was like, man, I could have cut off Courtney's head. I just wasn't fast enough. I want to apologize to Matt Lillard and the rest of the Faster Purple Worm Kill community that I did not cut off a Kardashian's head during the making of our show. I apologize. Can you make sure that gets on me?
I will include that for sure.
Okay, yes, please make sure that's in, because that truly comes from deep inside my heart. I feel like if I cut off her head and it grew back, that perhaps like the Grinch, her head would grow 3 sizes that day, and be a better person for it, And now this it may all be that they're just trying to make good television for and this family strife is not nearly as bad as it seems. But in my short time of being forced to watch that show, I think a good beheading would have with the head growing back. Of course, I don't want to. Don't make it seem like I'm trying to behead actual people. But a philosophical and metaphysical beheading. I think, like I said, I truly missed the mark on that, and I just want to say.
That's so great. And I have to shift gears for just a second, because when my coworker found out I was interviewing you, he got beyond excited because he's a huge Walking Dead fan.
Oh, cool.
So he wanted me to ask you, with the Walking Dead universe expanding through all of these spinoffs, is there anything from Ezekiel's story that you'd like to see explored further?
Yeah, I would. I absolutely would. I really would love to go back in time and explore how Ezekiel came to become a king, in the apocalypse. I think it's do kind of a Better Call Saul sort of kind of prequel, and see just how someone goes from being a zookeeper to having people decide that we're going to listen to his outrageous idea of how you rebuild society, and how somebody comes to decide that this seems to be working. I'm going to run with this. So I think it would be actually really interesting. But I have no idea what their plans are, and if they do it, I would love to be a part of it. But I'm also kind of a realist when it comes to these things, and I'm like I kind of told myself all good things come to an end, and it's not the first time or the last time I've said goodbye to an awesome story that I was telling, and so I'm hoping that it'll come back around. But in the meantime, I was like the beautiful thing about my job is the wondrous variety, and And so I'm excited to, to see what happens next. But man, if they call saying they want to do something like that with Ezekiel, I'll be there in a heartbeat.
And then I'm also a huge Encounter Party fan. I think you are fantastic on it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And I know your character holds a very special place in your heart. Could you tell me a little bit about that character creation process?
Yeah. No, it's funny when they asked me to do Encounter Party, I was, it's, I'm sort of an anti-establishment, kind of guy, and I was like, yeah, I'll do Dungeons and Dragons, but with the people who made Dungeons and Dragons, no, I'm not going to do that. You can back, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm subversive. I'm not going to do it with the man, and then I was like, well, and then I met the cast of Encounter Party and the producers, and they're just fantastic people, and I was like, okay, you know what? I can actually play with these guys. These guys just freaking love D&D the way that I love storytelling, and I can see us like really doing something really cool and special. And but then in my head I was like, okay, well I'll make a character, but I'm not gonna give you my favorite character. I'm not gonna give you my I'm not gonna let you have like my deep inner stuff. I'm gonna give you some side hustle. But I'm not gonna give you I'm not gonna give the man my stuff. And then of course, just like all of us do, once you start building a character, you can't help but be, become invested and be like, and I thought that this would be a really important moment. I was like, when else am I going to be able to create a character that is going to be like officially in the pantheon of Dungeons and Dragons? It's not, this is like, this goes in the book. Tolo goes in the book of Dungeons and Dragons now, and you can't take him out. He is canon. And even now, as I'm telling you this, I get very emotional about it because there are, just like so many marginalized communities, there are people that want to pretend like they don't exist, and Tolo being, I base Tolo partly on my son who's transgender, and so Tolo is born biologically female, is in her heart, head, and soul male, and because D&D, we live in a world of magic. The possibilities are endless, and so the struggle and the fight that is going on with so many transgender kids, I was like, you get to have magic. You get to imbue your rage with shimmering magic. The struggle and the fight that goes on within yourself when you're like trying to figure out who you are, and the answers aren't easy, and nobody knows for at some point, how do you talk? I mean, how do you talk to somebody? How do you even know that it's there's so many years, even though my son was pretty young when he was introduced to what, the idea of being transgender, but so many nights he told me he would go to sleep, just hoping he would wake up, as the person his brain was telling him he was. And he would just, and there was a sadness and a loneliness he was living with that I had no idea about, and so I wanted that to be, I wanted that lonely kind of conversation that people have by themselves. I was like, here's a moment where I can say it out loud, and they can do that, that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like, yeah, that's me. I know that feeling, and know that they're not alone. and so instead of being like me not giving, my favorite, deepest part of me, I literally by, I don't know, 2 or 3 days into me deciding what kind of character to come up with, I was like, I want this character to speak to my son and people like him and anyone who's been marginalized and felt alone and quiet and not understanding, their journey. I wanted this to speak to them. I didn't even tell the producers at first. I was like, because I didn't want anybody to tell me no, because I was like, nobody is going to tell me no. Even if they did tell me no, it was like I was like it was going to come out on the table. I was going to say what I was going to say. And as I got to know the producers and Brian, uh, uh, the DM Brian David Junkins, I realized that I could trust him with that information, and so I ended up telling him eventually. But yeah. But I wasn't even gonna, because I was like nobody's gonna come down from on high and tell me that this isn't happening, because it became such an important thing to me, and it became like why I was doing the show in the first place. And so yeah. So that was kind of the journey of me. It went from me being like, I'll give you the scraps from my table to, me pulling out this big, huge pheasant, and being like, I've roasted this over the course of many moons, and giving like a piece of my heart and to this production, and I think that it's really paid off. It's been incredibly gratifying to me to be able to play Tolo, and and uh, and it was who I wanted to name him Ptolemy, actually, after the African philosopher, but they were like, no, that's real. You got to come up with with a name that isn't out there. And I was like, okay, we'll just shorten it to Tolo, and I think it actually fits him really well.
It's such a powerful story, and I absolutely love the reveal. I love all the D&D stuff you're in. Passport Warp is so great, and Counterparty is amazing, and I really hope we see Shikasa pop up in Mighty Nine, because one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to see. I feel like it'd be kind of hard to do. I mean, it wouldn't be hard, but why would you? Why would you leave Shikasta out of that? So I got a good feeling that Shikasta in animated form is in our future, and I'm really excited about that. When I don't know what it was that I knew that, because I'd been shaving my head for years, putting the wig on for King Ezekiel in The Walking Dead. So I just really missed my afro, and I wanted a big billowy afro, and living in Southern California, I feel like I've had all of these run-ins with hummingbirds. I've had a couple of hummingbirds fly into my house. And so I was just enamored of hummingbirds, and I wanted to see through the eyes of a hummingbird. And from there, it was just like, you just kind of go, and yeah, it's one of my favorite things that I've ever come up with, and of course, playing with Matt and everybody. They're all just so such wonderful people. I've been really amazed at my luck, that and everybody knows or feels like they know, the crew of Critical Role, because their hearts are right out there on the table, for the last 8-9 years, and I feel like I really lucked out with Encounter Party, that I found such a heartfelt group of people. They started out doing this show, in Brian's living room, years ago, and did the same thing we did. We just recorded, 8 hours a day, straight for like a few weeks, edited, a bunch of episodes to do their first campaign. And it was just this labor of love. They all wanted to do it. They all wanted to, tell a story that people connected with. And, and, uh, and, you can tell that they have a heart and a passion for this, like so many people do, but they're also great storytellers, in such very different ways. Like Andrew Krug, who sits next to me, who plays Dridian. He's just he's like nobody I've played with. He's so laid back. He's so calm, which is very different from me. And I love that the energy can switch to him. There's a moment that hasn't come around, and he says the simplest thing, and as he starts to explain what he's saying, it was by that time I knew what he was saying without him having to say anything else. But it was like that man of few words, and soft spoken, but carry a big stick, literally for a woodland elf. And so but I just love all of those guys. And I've been really lucky to run into like just beautiful soul after beautiful soul when it comes to D&D. So yeah, it's I'm excited to continue the journey. You know what I mean? I feel like I walked into Willy Wonka's factory, and they gave me a key, and we're like, anytime, man, come on in, and so I've been hanging out in the factory for a few years now, and I'm just I'm hoping that I get to keep telling these stories.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. It's been so great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.